Okay, this is Audio 1 Project 8 online. Click on the Learning Module 9 link that takes you to the Learning Module 9 page. Then click on the Project 8 icon. That takes you to the project page. The top link are all the sound effects you'll need for this project. The link right below that are for the step-by-step instructions. You'll actually need to unzip this twice because inside that zip file are 3 more zipped archives. One for the Star Wars library, one for additional streams, and one for the Light library, which is the one you'll be using the most. Notice that they're arranged alphabetically. Of course, that's because of your browser. But if you're looking for like an airplane, it could be under C for Cessna, P for plane, A for air. There's also a folder called Footsteps. In there are 4 footsteps. I put them in a folder because alphabetically they're all over the place. But these are from a CD that I had called Footstep Foley that had a bunch of footsteps on various surfaces. You may or may not use that. Anyway, start your session. We're going to do this at 44.1, 32-bit, stereo. Again, put on the desktop so you can find it and label it your name and Project 8 or P8. I'm going to mention here that you can literally do anything you want for 60 seconds with sound effects, but I'm going to use the footsteps, so I've imported them. The footsteps are laid out this way. It starts with individual steps, then there's walking at a normal pace, and scuffs where you arrive at the destination, your feet come together, then there's running, and finally jumping down onto a surface from maybe 3 feet. I'm going to take about 5 footsteps in one of the scuffs and put it together so somebody takes 5 steps and walks and stops. Then I'm going to actually import all of the sound effects. Depending on your version of Audition and your preference settings, Audition will only save the sound effects that are on the timeline so you won't clutter up your session. And you can use the browser to find sounds just like you would on your computer. I was looking for an interior door open and close. I found them and I placed them about 10 seconds apart. So the door opens, you see something, and then the door closes. Pressing Command-G groups the files after you've lassoed them with the Move tool. Then Command-C copies the files. Then Command-V pastes the files one after the other. And you do that 3 more times for a total of 4 vignettes. So now we have 4 vignettes, each with about 10 seconds in between. And we're a little over 60, but that's okay. This would be a good time to hit Command-S for save, by the way. Now I'm looking for basketball sounds to fill the first vignette. I type in basketball and see I have a bunch of choices. I'm going to pick several of them like the sneaker squeaks, the walla, and the dribbles, and kind of lay them underneath. Then I'm going to group them by lassoing them with the Move tool. Then I can trim them all and fade them all together. I want to fade them up with the door, pretending that this is the soundproof door, and then I'm going to fade them out the same way. So as the door opens, the sound comes up. As the door closes, the sound goes away. I decided maybe I'm going to add a little basketball swish, so I cut out some of the dribbles because I can't be dribbling and shooting, so we got a little swish there at the end. For the next vignette, I'm going to create a rainforest. So I type in Amazon. I've got a couple of Amazon choices for the Amazon rainforest. Also jungle night. I typed in jungle. And there's also rainforest. So I've got a bunch of choices for kind of jungle ambience. I'm going to lay all those effects in. It's always best to work left to right on the timeline so you don't paste over anything. I'm going to group all those and then again trim them all so they come up and down with the door. And there they are. If I need to adjust the volume levels, I'll use the yellow line in each one of the files, just like in Premiere, to turn the volume up or down. Next, I want to create the sound of a war, so I'm going to look for guns. I've got a ton of guns, machine guns, big explosions. I'm just going to put them randomly, mix it up. I also want to hear the sound of people, so I'm going to look for angry voices. Yeah, angry crowd will work. I tried chopping this at the steady state points and looping it as we did the rushing water in Project 5, but it sounded very looped, so I decided I'll kind of mix it up. I also want the sound of screams, so I imported the entire additional scream library, mostly the men's screams, but I just imported them all, including the Wilhelm scream. So I laid those in, mixed them up, chopped the front and back, did the fade up and fade out to make them match with the doors, and that was done. And then I decided I'll do a spring break. So we're looking for ocean waves. So we're on the beach, so I grabbed some ocean waves, probably seagulls, because you hear seagulls on the beach. Yeah, and a boat whistle. I'm envisioning an ocean liner out in the bay there. So I laid all those in, did some adjusting with the yellow lines, chopped front and back to make them time with the doors, a little fade up and fade out, and we're about done. Well, we have to figure out how to end this, so I'm going to go to that last segment of footsteps and door open, door close. I'm going to highlight everything with the Move tool, go to the clip menu, and uncheck the group clips, which will ungroup those clips. Then I'm going to highlight the scuffs and the door open and door close with the Move tool and just hit delete. Those are going to go away. I'm going to take the Move tool as a trimmer tool on the right side and drag those footsteps out for, maybe 3 times longer than it is right now. Then I'm going to apply a fade to the end of that, so we're like fading off into the sunset. I'm going to go ahead and check the playback to make sure I like the way it sounds. Okay, I like it. I'm going to export it the same way we did projects 1 through 5. File, export, multitrack, mixdown entire session, an MP3, 44, 116-bit, 192. Make sure I know where I'm putting it on the desktop. I'm going to go back to Canvas, click the Submit Assignment button, browse my computer, find the file I want. It's the MP3 file. Click Submit Assignment, and I'm done. But your project can be anything you want. Just tell a story with sound effects for 60 seconds.